Hi, my name is Angelica, and this is the Angelica Unfiltered channel where I talk about health, wellness, weight loss, but mostly fat acceptance. You guys let me know that Jameela Jamil actually did a podcast with Aubrey Gordon. So since two side characters of the Unfiltered universe have come together, I thought we should watch this together. Sorry, just already dissociating, thinking about sitting here for an hour and listening to Aubrey Gordon talk. Because y'all know I spent 4.5 eons making the documentary review about her. Sorry if you hear weed whacking in the background. My neighbor has been going at it for about 3 hours, and I would really like to film and get this video over with, but hopefully I can edit out any annoying sounds. And I'm wearing the enchanted labradorite toggle necklace with the huggy hoops for my business Rebirth Jewelry. While I love YouTube, it does not pay my bills. Crystals actually do, so just giving myself a free little promo. And you can use code DEAD to save 30% off until the end of July, which is probably like a day or two after I'm done filming this. I never know how the sound is going to be when I film these videos, so hopefully this sounds all good. But this was posted 2 years ago, which was January 28th, 2023. Aubrey Gordon returns I Weigh with Jameela Jamil, episode 146.
Aubrey fucking Gordon, welcome to I Weigh again.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's always a treat to talk to you.
Oh god, I'm just always looking for an excuse to have you back because you're just one of my favourite people I've ever had.
You guys have told me that Jameela kisses her ass so hard in this, so looking forward to seeing that as well.
On this podcast, you're such a dream, such a gift, and not only are you so amazing online and on podcast and on your own podcast maintenance phase, but you're also one of my favourite writers, and you have a new book coming out, and we're going to talk about it.
Look in the background. If you watched my summary on the Your Fat Friend documentary, I think Aubrey Gordon's in her mom's closet. Look at the scale. The scale was very important to Aubrey Gordon. So this was 2023, and they're talking about Aubrey's new book. I don't think this is the first book that came out.
Yeah.
So, congratulations, because it is a unfathomably difficult task to complete a book, and you are just rolling through them at speed. And I can only imagine it's quite stressful.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but also it's really this is gonna sound weird, but it feels like really fun, liberating work to me to sort of take apart the diet industry, to sort of take apart anti-fat bias and to figure out how it works.
Oh, she's like a diet culture anthropologist or something.
And see that it all is kind of working on a wing and a prayer. You know what I mean? Like, it's built on a lot of really shoddy information that we have been led pretty far astray by the diet industry and by sort of anti-fat myths writ large. And it feels really liberating to go, oh, the emperor has no clothes. Got
The continuous use of liberation is sending me.
it. That's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
Understood. You know?
That's a lovely way of putting it, because I imagine when anyone is writing a book within social justice, you know that so many people are going to be annoyed that
Me listening to this podcast.
you have exposed their inherent, maybe unconscious, but definitively what we would describe as bias. And so you have to be so fucking precise. It has to be such detailed and fact-checked and historical.
It doesn't have to be fat checked. It doesn't have to be fact checked. You can say 95% of diets fail, even though that study was done on a very specific group of people, and the study had inconclusive results. Insert Sam at every size video.
Historically perfect account in order to not be taken to absolute fucking pieces, because what you say in your podcast and online and in these books is something that has the power to destabilize one of the biggest multi-billion-dollar industries in the world, and that is.
Please, is Aubrey Gordon that important? She's going to break down the diet industry. The only way the diet industry is going to stop is if obesity goes away and people learn how to develop healthy lifetime habits, so people aren't constantly on the diet cycle wheel.
is the diet and kind of quote unquote wellness industry.
Listen, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah, I feel like I'm sort of like, I have like a little slingshot and I'm rocketing little pebbles at this giant monolith, right? And enough chips and, hopefully we'll get somewhere, hopefully we'll destabilize it a little bit.
Hopefully enough people will listen to my made-up rhetoric and statements purely based on emotion so that they give up and stop trying to lose weight and just settle with the fact that they'll always be humongous.
Well, for anyone who hasn't heard your first episode on this podcast, and I hope people do, can you explain to me why fat phobia and diet culture are so important to you?
Who should I answer that for her? Why is fat phobia and diet culture so important to Aubrey Gordon? Because she's obsessed with being fat, and being fat is part of her personality. And it's also become her business, her ways of making money and surviving in the world.
They've become like a core part of your work, although your work is also important, it's important to say, very intersectional. And you have always been, I mean, even professionally, an advocate for multiple different groups' rights. But why is this specifically something that you are just going to die on this fucking hill?
Yeah, I sure am.
With you.
She's gonna die on that hill of a fucking heart attack.
We're going to be buried right next to each other.
I'm so funny. Aubrey Gordon's laughing with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely die on this hill.
Okay.
I mean, I will say I am a lifelong fat person. I have been at the high end of plus size clothing, or into extended plus size clothing, which means plus size stores don't carry your size.
She's been fat her entire life. She was like a chubby kid. If you've watched my documentary review summary, you would know like she was chubby, like a normal chubby, but as she's gotten older, as most people in the fat activist sphere, they have just gotten to a point where they are so fat that they can't even shop in stores. Like, they're becoming not just a little curvy, a little plus size, not the average 14, 16, 18. They're becoming size 26, 28, 30, 32. Sizes that not even plus size clothing retailers make clothing for.
I've sort of gone back and forth between those two for basically since I was a teenager.
She's gone back in between sizes. So she's gotten smaller and she's gotten bigger and she's gotten smaller. I thought we had no control over our weight. Why does that keep changing so much for you?
And also, like many fat people before me, faced immense pressure to diet, and like many fat people before me, developed an eating disorder as a result of that.
Fat people before and after me are pressured to diet, aka people want them to live a long and healthy life, so they express the dire need to lose weight and develop healthy patterns.
And I think as I've gotten further and further into researching anti-fatness and where it comes from, researching the BMI and where it comes from, researching the idea of an obesity epidemic and where it comes from,
I've gotten further and further into my delusions and no longer believe in any science unless it correlates with my personal beliefs and emotions.
And the ties between white supremacy and anti-fatness.
Oh my god. Here we go. Fat phobia is rooted in racism, misogyny, fascism, ableism, fill in the blank, 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 every other big scary word that someone never wants to be called.
No question. A friend sent me a book the other day that is an actual American Nazi diet book.
I'm gonna have to censor the fuck out of this video. Oh yeah, some fat activists say that it's bad to exercise because back in World War II or something, like, I think Nadia and Nymph talked about this in one of her recent videos, but like fat activists were talking about how like the Nazis were really big on exercising, and then that's so they equate exercising as being bad because Nazis did it, and it's like, y'all are so far from the plot. It's fucking amazing. How do you stray so far away from normal thinking?
That is like straight, yeah, we're getting into it, right? Yeah, I think to see how much there are moneyed interests invested in keeping us unhappy with our bodies, there are
like the junk food industry, the sugar industry, the fast food industry, all these industries that make us addicted to delicious, bubbly beverages and food that can't even break down in the summer heat because it's so hyper processed. Like a fucking McDonald's cheeseburger or those like ice cream sandwiches.
Our moneyed interests invested in keeping fat people on the margins.
Yeah, and there's lots of industries that focus on keeping fat people fat because fat people are great consumers. Like obviously the food industry that we just talked about, but then we can also talk about the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry. It's not just the diet industry. A lot of different industries profit off of fat people. And a lot of those industries lobby and are tied to politics in the United States and basically run this country. And that's why 77% of Americans are overweight, 44% of them being obese, myself included.
And there are these deep historical ties to anti-fatness sort of propping up other systems of privilege and oppression.
You're not oppressed if you're fat. Actually, you have some sort of privilege to be able to afford such an excess amount of food. It's not cheap to be fat as fuck.
It has felt really cathartic to go, oh, the reasons for this are kind of everything but fat people's health, which is sort of what we're told most often, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is she like even talking about?
Yeah, so that's why I would say it's most important to me.
Because I'm so self-centered that the only thing I can do in my life is talk about fatness because my whole personality and career now is based off being fat and centering myself in conversations where I quite frankly don't belong.
Yeah, and it's also
for
like
sure.
it's a, you know, division is an increasingly popular tactic in order.
And not the divide and conquer, us versus them mentality. Which is so ironic because it's like Aubrey Gordon is super morbidly obese and then Jameela Jamil is underweight. When hypothetically, according to people in the fat acceptance and the rhetoric that they follow, these two people should be worst enemies.
In order to distract and cause chaos, and an issue in which a large portion, let's say just in the United States, although this is, you know, a global fight, although it's different.
It's not really a global fight because there are countries, nations on this earth, I know it's hard to imagine, that have people that are actually starving. The obesity epidemic is a very Western problem.
From country to country. Some cultures, the fatter you are, the more wealthy you are considered, and therefore you are considered more attractive and the better.
Okay, but that like is usually in countries that are underdeveloped, and there is still like a sort of figure that goes along with it. Like they still are very curvaceous. And why is my neighbor still fucking weed whacking? It's not like his yard is 55 fucking acres. Oh my god. It's really pissing me off. I really hope you guys can't hear this. But like when people say like, oh, fat people are seen as wealthy in other countries, it's like, or attractive, it's like they still are, they're like curvaceous. And if we go down to like the pure genetics of it, it's like people like seeing a woman with an appropriate amount of fat and curves because that is kind of like a symbol that they are fertile and can have children. But when you're super morbidly obese, your fertility goes down in the fucking sewer, so that doesn't apply to you.
A partner, but let's say in the West, in the United States, right? It's a conversation that can just be infinite because there are a lot of people who are over the weight that is deemed acceptable by American society, which is extraordinary considering the vast majority of people look a certain way.
Because 77% of Americans are overweight, 44% of them being obese, because they overeat. That's why they don't fit the beauty standards. They're just not a fucking healthy weight.
Yeah.
And so it's genius to create that as a problem because then you just have infinite ability.
I like how they act like beauty standards just started like 10 years ago. Beauty standards have been around since probably the beginning of time. Like if you look back at even like to the 20s, like there is still some sort of standard or like some sort of style that has been popular throughout all these decades. And even all the way back then, people still had an appropriate waist size. I feel like the size part of the beauty standard is something that is more focused on nowadays, just because, well, I'm speaking about the United States here. Our population has become so overweight. But everything, I can't even think. This man's yard keeping tools are pissing me off so bad. But it's like, besides the weight part of the beauty standard, a lot of women in the fat acceptance community still abide by almost every other beauty standard. They have good skincare routines. They get Botox or lash lifts and tints and waxes, and they get their hair done. And like, there are just so many like parts of the beauty standard that these people are willing to participate in. It's just the weight aspect for some reason that they don't want to comply with.
To shame people, divide people, create hierarchy within society. Some people can earn money.
The call is coming from inside the house. Oh, this is a way to create hierarchy within society. Oh, so do you think that like thin people are better than fat people? Because I think like everyone should be treated the same regardless of their weight.
Some people can't earn money because they're less likely to be hired if they're fat because they're deemed lazy. And then we create divisions in the clothing market. We create
divisions in the clothing market. Yeah, standard sizing and plus sizing. You guys, everyone loves a label in the fat acceptance community, but now we're calling that division. That makes no sense. We love calling a skinny, a thin mint, a mid-size, a fat, a plus size, but it's division. Now it's division.
Divisions emotionally, and then we prop up the multi-billion-dollar predatory diet culture. And
why don't you talk about the other industries, like the fast food industry, the sugar industry, junk food industry, hyper-processed food industry? Nope, just diet industry, diet and wellness industry. Yep, that's the most toxic and worst one for all of us, right?
So I am equally obsessed with your fight.
Because she's also equally ingrained in toxic and unhealthy beliefs and patterns.
We've had different journeys and similar journeys all at the same time, and I think that's why we're good friends.
They're just on the opposite side of the spectrums. That's exactly it. Sometimes when you're so unalike, sometimes when you are so different, it actually brings you together because you struggle exactly the same, just in the opposite way. Yin and yang, there is no light without dark.
I think so too. Yeah, I think our paths keep crisscrossing on, sort of related issues. And it's
because they're both pandering to people in the fat acceptance community.
Been really fun and lovely. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
to have you on speed dial.
Thanks, likewise. But one of the things we bonded over, even in our last episode, was the fact that, and we're going to get further into this.
Oh, yeah. Aubrey doesn't care about beauty standards, but she's here fluffing her hair and wearing makeup with really cute glasses. Yeah, doesn't care about beauty standards.
Because your book has really, this is the most, pedantic, diligent, not a dot, not an I undotted, not a T uncrossed. You have gone into every single fucking possible question anyone can have around fat phobia, fat history, diet history, etc. But one of the things that we bonded over was the health conversation, because you and I look different, we're different sizes, and yet I am the one who, because of my size, is never questioned about my health. You are constantly questioned and critiqued, even to your face, even by complete strangers. And yet I'm the one who's absolutely fucked health-wise. And you are comparatively pretty fucking...
Okay, then don't judge a book by its cover. Didn't we learn this in fucking kindergarten?
Healthy. And less likely to die early than I am.
What? Aubrey Gordon is super morbidly obese. I don't know what kind of health conditions Jameela Jamil has, but it's more likely that Aubrey Gordon's gonna have a fucking heart attack than you.
But no one bothers me around my my health, and it just perfectly displays the whole health versus, I don't know, fat debate.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very transparent moment when someone who does not know me tells me that they are concerned for my health. Or I'm like, what do you know about me that I don't know? What's happening?
They know that you're super morbidly obese, and that's an extreme risk factor to almost every single disorder and disease.
happening here?
Yeah. Break into the lab and find my blood test results.
Totally.
I feel like Jameela Jamil is like playing up how unhealthy she is to like kind of make Aubrey Gordon feel good about herself, or like make fat people think, oh yeah, like fatness isn't a part of my health. Like, look at Jameela Jamil, she's so thin and beautiful, but she's unhealthy. It's like, guess what? She could be unhealthy, and you could fucking be unhealthy too.
And I think it's also very revealing about how culturally we are willing to put our perception of someone else's health at the center of when and whether we treat someone else with dignity in a really basic way, right?
I don't think people treat others with dignity because of their health conditions.
Like, even if people did know specific health conditions that you have, it would still be deeply weird of them to walk up to you as a stranger and go, I'm really concerned about your health. You probably shouldn't be eating that, right? Like, that's a weird meddling thing to do.
Yeah, it's kind of invasive, but I don't think that happens as much as people in the fat acceptance community act like it does.
But it's our primary template for engaging with fat people, right?
100%.
It's like,
I mean,
it's the main way.
Yeah, I've had Roxane Gay on this podcast
Mhm.
tell me that she's had someone come up to her and remove an item of food from her trolley
Yeah.
as an attempt to help her, to
Yeah.
save her from herself.
Yeah, that happened to Aubrey Gordon too with melon. She said that in her documentary.
Yeah.
Fucking
Same.
amazing.
Mine was a watermelon. Someone took a melon out of my cart because it had too much sugar. It's like, okay, great, good, this is fun.
But it's like, think about then the context of Aubrey Gordon's whole existence. Say, like, she goes to the grocery store like once a week. That's 52 times out of a year. She's almost 40. Like, then multiply that by, like, you know what I mean? Like, so this is one instance out of what, like, a fucking 3,000 times you've been to the grocery store? I know it's like rude and uncomfortable, but it's like, what is the percentage or likeliness that this is going to happen again, or to anyone actually, just in general?
It's such a weird, like, morally superior and peculiar. Like, I just, in a billion years, I wouldn't consider doing something like that. And something that you get into in your book that we both especially want to talk about was this feeling of responsibility that thin people seem to have taken upon themselves, as if they are like, what do you call it? Not a plainclothes policeman, just sort of like a citizen's arrest.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, well, if you put shit online, then people are gonna comment about it. I don't know what you want. Do you only want like specific people to comment on your stuff? You can't be like a dictator of who is allowed to have opinions.
Really good way of
body
putting
fat.
that.
Do you know what I mean? Like this, like sort of vigilante citizens arrest intervention culture.
That is such a good way of putting that, because boy oh boy, that's exactly what it feels like is happening. Is someone's just like, I understand it's my civic duty. If you see something, say something, and I have seen a fat person. Here we go, right?
Oh, I've seen a fat person. I look at one every day in the mirror. 77% of Americans are overweight. So we're so think about that. So there that leaves 23% of the American population. And so some of those people have to be underweight and some of those people have to be a healthy weight. So that healthy weight percentage of people is going around policing fat people. Those people must be fucking exhausted. Because there is a lot to write up tickets for. They probably have 1 million handcuffs in their trunk waiting to be used at all times.
But I think it's also a natural outcome of, part of our sort of cultural script around fatness is the idea that fat people have failed, where thin people have succeeded. So as much as fat people are being told, we've messed up in some really basic ways and somebody better come rescue us, thin people have been told, you're the people who can do the rescuing. Just look at you. You must have done something, right?
Yeah.
No, thin people have just eaten the right amount of calories for their weight and height, and fat people have eaten too much. I've never expected a thin person to come and save me. Like, has anyone? Have you ever expected a normal, healthy weight person to come into your house and just give you a 180 lifestyle makeover so you can lose weight. No. It's all about you and your habits.
Teach
Right.
the others.
Yeah,
Teach
totally.
the others of your way. And then there's like a weird grossness where we congratulate thin people and treat them as though like they had the discipline, they had the get up. We have a similar thing you talk about in your book, is we reserve this kind of like huge respect for people who've, you know, lost a ton of weight. And I don't want to take anything away from those people. It's not my place to judge either way.
Oh, no. We don't want to take away how great it is for someone to lose a substantial amount of weight. But let's see what they have to say.
But we look at those as like, they wanted it badly enough.
They did. They wanted it fucking badly enough. They were sick and tired of being sick and tired, so they decided to change their life so they could fucking lose weight.
They were hard workers. That is I respect you now that you have conformed. And yet
Conformed, aka just no longer obese. That's what it is. Like, you act like they just turned into normal SpongeBob because they lost weight. No, they're still actually the same exact person, they just lost weight. Same personality, probably still same preferences, same hair color, same clothing style, still have the same favorite foods, still favorite movies, still like the same music. It's people in the fat acceptance community that make it seem like someone went from a fucking caterpillar to a butterfly. They are the same exact person before and after they lost weight. You are these shallow people who look at people for their weight.
Yet, then we don't talk about the fact that we have this, and I think this is quite Western, but this obsessive applause for people who are skinny who can eat loads of shit.
Yeah, totally. It's the weirdest.
That to me is like, so like the culture of like, that's reinforced very like subliminally.
Because the thin people that are eating like shit don't eat like shit on a regular basis.
By supermodels eating big bowls of pasta, which...
Oh yeah, or there's like that meme or like the stereotype of like models eating pizza, and it's like, yeah, they're like taking a picture with a slice of pizza and they take like one bite and then that's it. They're not eating a whole fucking large Domino's pizza by themselves, I promise you that.
As someone who's in an industry with a lot of these people, like that pasta is being literally spat out into a cup.
Okay, yeah, there you go. It's performative.
Most of the time, I know that because I watch it happen on set. So we've the 90s had a lot of like imagery and like narratives around like a rake thin actress who is just eating a bagel or some ice cream, and all the men call her a pig, and everyone laughs about what, you know.
I mean, I was born in 97, so I wasn't alive during all this, or I guess maybe not even conscious during this, but it's like, did this happen? Did this happen?
What a pig she is, and they're trying to reinforce that, like, wow, she can eat so much, but she's so skinny and eat so much shit. So we haven't even, like, just to add to the ridiculousness of this, we haven't even come down on a side. Not that we even should, not that it's anyone's business, but we can't even decide how we feel about that. There's no criticism for the people can eat shit who might have...
You just said that men criticized those women for eating ice cream. It sounds like we can criticize anyone.
Have high cholesterol, like I do, who might have this, that, and the other, because they've achieved thinness. Yeah. Therein lies the disingenuousness of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of reveals itself as like a project that's not interested in ideological consistency, right? And
okay, word salad.
Think part of that is, listen, there's a thing that my co-host Michael Hobbs talks about a fair amount, which is almost sort of a definition of a shorthanded definition of a moral panic is, what do we not need evidence to believe? And I think at this point, we don't need evidence to believe that fat people are unhealthy and that they are deserving of our scorn.
If you are obese, you have a disease called obesity. So I would think that deems you as unhealthy.
And that they sort of deserve whatever's coming to them, right? Like all of that is sort of like, we don't really need evidence of that. We need evidence to puncture that, and that only sometimes works, you know?
Yeah, and also a lot of people don't believe that fat phobia is an actual, that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
They say they're just concerned, and that's what we've now labeled as concern trolling.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people don't see it as a form of discrimination because I guess there are a multitude of reasons, and I can say it's one of the last groups, and I'm not saying the only group, but one of the last groups where it is actually okay to like openly abuse and ridicule them, in my opinion, from what I see on every stand-up set, from what I see in movies and in, you know, on like a big podcast full of men who are on testosterone injections.
Okay, yeah, let's shame men. And I don't think it's right that people discriminate or bully fat people, but it's like fat people are fat because of their choices when every other person that has been made fun of or like discriminated against, they can't control those things. People can't change if they're mentally or physically disabled. People can't change where they're born. People can't change their ethnicity. They can't change their race. And, you know, those are people that used to be made fun of in stand-up in comedy all the time. Or it's like, okay, it's a fucking fat joke. It's like, get over it. My husband and I are watching Naruto. He watched Naruto growing up. This is my first time watching it. And it's like the amount of different fat jokes or like sort of like fat ninja skills or like just like there's just so much things around fatness, and it's like every other culture is like totally fine with making fun of fatness, especially like Eastern countries, but for some reason people in the West are so fucking triggered by it.
It's an obsessive subject in which people can be incredibly dehumanizing, and it's one of the last groups in which that's allowed. And I think some people justify it.
Not really, because it's like people still make fun of women all of the time. I mean, I don't watch SNL, but I'm pretty sure they like made fun of some girl from Love Island on it or something. It's like fat people aren't the only people that are being made fun of still nowadays. Not every fucking joke on every single stand up is about fat people. Everyone is still made fun of nowadays.
As not being able to be called like a hate attack or something like that, because there is an inherent blame. It's like, well, racism is bad because someone can't help their race. Colorism's bad because of this. Gender like based stuff is fucked up.
Didn't she just make fun of men for being on testosterone injections? That's like gender forming care and hormonal therapy. Like, so it's okay to make fun of men, but you can't make fun of fat people?
Because it can't. But when it comes to non-binary issues or gender issues, we consider that to be a choice. We used to consider homosexuality to be a choice. And we very much so, above all else, consider fatness to be a definitive choice.
It is. Your size is your choice because what you eat, which is in your control, what you eat over a long period of time, will dictate your size.
And lack of care and lack of self-respect.
Which is so tricky because, look, man, it should be people's choice how they want their bodies to look and how they want their bodies to be regarded. But we get culturally hung up on this sort of rhetorical device of like, if you're choosing something, then I don't have to respect it because you could make the choice that would earn my respect here, right?
Yeah.
And that in the case of fat people is choosing to be thin, quote unquote. I mean, I think it's worth noting that the research shows pretty definitively that for someone my size, I will say I wear a size 26 currently. For someone my size,
she does not want to say what she weighs. That's so funny. Size 26. She's gotta be like pushing 400 pounds. She's tall too. So that kind of like gives her weight more space to disperse.
We have a less than 1% chance in our lifetime of attaining our sort of BMI mandated weight, right?
What the fuck does that even mean?
A size 26 currently. For someone my size, we have a less than 1% chance in our lifetime of attaining our sort of BMI mandated weight, right?
So Aubrey Gordon is saying a size 26 has a 1% chance of becoming a healthy weight. Link that study, please.
of attaining what is medically defined as a quote unquote healthy weight. So even
quote unquote healthy weight defined from the medical industry. What else? What other industry should determine that?
if being fat is a choice, becoming thin is not really an option.
That makes you just contradict yourself. If being fat is a choice, then it's impossible to be thin. If it's your choice to be fat, then it's your choice also to be a healthy weight, and it's also your choice to be thin or underweight.
Right? So, like, hang on to being fat as a choice if you want to. That's fine. Again, it should be a choice that's available to folks. But
it is available to folks. That's why 77% of Americans are overweight.
The idea that fat people could just, like, put some shoulder into it and give it the old college try and you just get there in no time has been disproven time and time and time again.
Yeah, you talk about this guy at college, I think it was, who kind of gave you the calories in, calories out spiel. And there was definitely a part of me that believed that 15 years ago when I had.
Jameela Jamil doesn't believe in calories in, calories out. All right. And obviously, neither does Aubrey Gordon.
My own eating disorder. And I just felt like everything was my fault and it was easy. And I judged myself, and that, of course, would probably bleed out onto others. But it's vital that we continue to have the conversation about the multitude of things, alongside the fact that fat should be a choice and must be all like inherent in our bodily autonomy conversation when we're talking about reproductive rights. We should
like, what is this word salad? Like, actually, like, what the hell are we talking about?
remember my body, my motherfucking choice.
See, the thing is, so people in the fat acceptance community say 95% of diets fail. My weight is purely genetics. But then now they're saying that my weight, my choice. So you're disproving your other arguments.
But there are a multitude of things that contribute that I would love to get into with you, seeing as you are so educative in your book around it. There's a multitude of things that contribute to someone's size as to why they may never be thin, right?
You don't have to be thin. You can just be a healthy weight. Guys, did you know this? You don't have to be obese or rake thin, like Jameela Jamil says. You could just be a normal, healthy weight. Did you guys know that? You don't have to be supersized or kid-sized meal. You could be a medium. Like, there's like, not everything is black and white.
And I mean, for example, can you describe ghrelin to me?
Yes, absolutely. So ghrelin and leptin, well, I'll back us up and say, I think when we think and talk about dieting or attempting to lose weight or attempting to become thin, whatever your framework is, lifestyle choice, whatever. One of the key ingredients that we talk about culturally is this idea of willpower. And actually, a considerable amount of medical research now shows that what we think of as willpower is actually two hormones, ghrelin, which is sort of nicknamed the hunger hormone, and leptin, which is designated as the satiety hormone, right? So it's worth knowing that those two kick in when your body dips below its usual intake of food or calories, right? So it is a biological mechanism that when you start eating less, you get more hungry and it takes more food to make you full, right? That's not an issue of willpower. That's an issue of like your hormones are kicking in and your body is doing what it's supposed to do, which is make sure you get enough food, right?
I feel like that's so incorrect. Some people just have more of those hormones. Usually, fat people have more ghrelin, which makes them feel like they need to eat more. And I'm pretty sure that also creates food noise. If I'm wrong, then I'm just going to post some information on the screen. And it's like, I'm sure I'm one of those people that have more of those hormones. I've never gotten them checked, so like I don't know for sure. But it's like, if you know you struggle with those things, then you need to figure out what sort of lifestyle habits you can do to counteract those things. Like, if you are someone that is constantly hungry, someone that is constantly thinking about food, then you need to fucking increase the fiber and the protein in your diet so you feel fuller longer. And you need to be drinking an ass ton of water. You can't just be eating and pecking around all day because you're never going to feel full. Like, humans are not a fucking medical mystery.
Right?
Mhm.
That feels like a really crucial part that we're missing. I mean, I think the other thing that feels really crucial as a missing link to me is, we've got this idea of calories in, calories out, which comes from a paper from 1959.
There has to be more research that's done since then. We're in the throes of an obesity epidemic, and I'm sure more people have done research about this.
And I'll say this, there's not a lot of medical research from 1959 that would sort of pass muster these days, right? Like, there's a lot more that we have learned since then. The idea behind calories in, calories out was that you could reduce your caloric intake by 3,500.
I like I like how she's like, so they thought that if you ate less than your body needs, then you'll lose weight. You mean the actual literal science that people believe? It's not like a myth.
Calories, and that would lead to 1 pound of fat lost, right?
They thought, no, this is actually real science. This isn't made up. And the same, it goes vice versa. So if you eat more than 3,500 calories over your maintenance, then guess what? You're going to be gaining weight, which is how you get the choice to be fat or to be healthy size or to be thin. So if you choose to be fat, then how are you getting fat? Please riddle me that.
And that has now been debunked very publicly in a number of journals since, I think, the mid-1980s.
So why can we believe research from the 1980s, which was almost 50 years ago, but we can't believe research from 1956, which was 70 years ago? They're less than 2 decades away.
Was the first time that it was like
Which is
fully
crazy,
dismantled.
because I swear I've read it even in the last 2 years.
It has been my entire lifetime that we
Yeah.
have known that this is not a functional model. There was one, hang on, let me find the quote.
How does someone lose weight then? How does someone lose weight then? How does someone gain weight then? What is the science around gaining weight? It's not just all hormones. Aubrey Gordon is not pushing 400 pounds because she has ghrelin in her body. Quite frankly, everyone does. Is Aubrey Gordon all fucking water weight then? Like, how'd she get that big? How'd Jameela Jamil get that small?
For you, because it is bonkers. There was, here we go. There was...
Do you think she just has like an Excel spreadsheet full of all of the research that she uses to spread misinformation?
A research review in 2015 in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics that said that calories in, calories out, quote, lacks a contemporary scientific foundation and leads to a large error in weight loss prediction, even in the short term. And they went...
Why? Can you expand on that statement?
On to say that there is probably not a tool that exists that can help individuals or an entire population predict weight loss or weight gain.
100%. I mean, also, like, I think it's important to say, without naming the actual number, like, I was eating in the low hundreds for years and couldn't drop a pound. And that's because this shit doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. I was way under the 3,500 cutting mark and I was over exercising. My body had gone into something called starvation mode, which happens incredibly fast for a lot of people. And it's...
Okay, so let's say Jameela Jamil was eating 600 calories a day and she's extremely underweight. Yeah, that would make sense that she's in starvation mode, but if a fat person is in a 500 calorie deficit, they are not in starvation mode because Jameela Jamil probably has little body fat. So when you are losing weight, when you're in a calorie deficit, you are consuming less than your body needs to function. So when you're fat, when you're overweight, when you're obese like me, your body goes in to its refrigerator, its freezer, its pantry, and it eats the fat off the body that it already has. So you're not in starvation mode if you're obese, okay? Your body has plenty of food. My body has plenty of food. You see this right here? It has plenty of food. It also has some on my big fat belly, in my legs. Like, My body has plenty of food. I'm not in starvation mode.
It's a good thing that it happens. It's seen as a bad thing that we hate our bodies for. That is your body's way of surviving because it thinks you're in a motherfucking famine. It doesn't think you have a party.
And realize that she struggled with the restriction side of EDS, where she restricted for an extremely long period of time, which caused her to be underweight, which contradicts her argument because how did she get underweight if calories in, calories out don't exist?
Or a wedding that you need to lose weight for. It thinks you are being denied food and therefore is trying to save your life by putting the brakes on how thin you get so that you don't literally waste away. So this shit is never spoken about. And if anything, people are like, starvation mode doesn't exist and blah, 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 blah. I don't know what the exact terminology is for it, therefore I am not an expert, but I can tell you from lived experience of 2 decades that this shit...
From my lived experience, so your emotions, your feelings, well, guess what? Your feelings aren't fucking facts. Your feelings aren't science.
Doesn't work, and it damages you forever.
Your ED damaged you, not calories. Your behaviors damaged you. Your ED damaged your metabolism, your mental health, and your organs. Not being on a healthy diet, not being in a healthy calorie deficit. See, it's just like so much fear mongering, and it fucking pisses me off so bad because it's like, say someone in the fat acceptance community says, like, here's this, and they're 300 pounds. So they think, wow, well, I shouldn't go on a diet because then I'm going to go in starvation mode and then not lose any weight. So then it's like people don't even want to fucking try.
Damages your metabolism, your mental health, and your vital organs. I had a blood test result.
You know what also damages your vital organs? Having adipose tissue. Because when you're so fat, it goes in between your organs and finds a place to live, and then it can suffocate your organs. Your heart and your lungs and your stomach. Being fat also damages your vital organs.
Yesterday, Aubrey, and I've been eating properly for 6 years. I've been eating properly and dealt with my eating disorder for 6 fucking years, and I was told that I am across the board fucked and depleted. And
okay, let's actually see those blood results. Let's see those labs. What did they actually say? Because I feel like she's just like playing up how unhealthy she is to make it seem like she's like some great ally.
No proper nutrients and this, that, and the other, because I have destroyed my body for so long that
I find this hard to believe. If she is actually eating healthily, if she is consuming the right nutrition, taking vitamins, exercising appropriately, drinking enough water, she should be able to have decent blood work. Yeah, maybe there are some things that you can't reverse, like, I don't know. I think you can reverse osteoarthritis, but it's like, I just can't with the helplessness and the hopelessness. It makes me so fucking pissed off.
It's going to take me like 10, 15 years to catch up on the damage I did. So,
or that you're probably still doing because your labs should have gotten better since you were struggling with your ed.
Just wanted to back that up with a little bit of lived experience.
I'm sorry to hear all of it, and like this is, I don't know.
Look, why is Jameela Jamil like literally looks happy. She's like, yeah, I'm like so unhealthy. Girl, please.
Everybody gets to
look at her. Like, why does she look excited?
Make their own choice. For me, that is much too high a price to pay.
Yeah.
That is much too high a price to pay.
And it's an endless price. Yeah. It's an endless price. And
so Aubrey Gordon's like, see, it's like you're Jameela Jamil and you have horrible blood work and you're unhealthy, or you're like me and you're unhealthy. It's like, what if like you could just be fucking normal? What if you could just be a normal weight and be healthy? No, it's either underweight or obese. There's nothing in between.
No one ever tells you about that. And that kind of comes into this kind of like panic culture, right?
You're the panic culture.
Of like, it doesn't matter what's going to happen to them later. We've just got to get fat people to lose weight as fast as possible. I think the biggest...
Yeah. You should worry about what's going to happen later because they're just going to croak at an early age because whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether Aubrey Gordon or Jameela Jamil likes it or not, fatness, obesity will take a toll on your health.
is as one of the most damaging things.
Okay. Not everyone is going to be losing weight like people on The Biggest Losers. See, it's like literally the most extreme shit ever. Because people on Biggest Losers literally dedicated their whole entire existence to losing weight. And all they did was eat iceberg lettuce and work out 18 hours out of the day. And they were also being screamed at by Jillian Michaels and being forced to take a bunch of different pills so they can lose weight as quickly as possible. That's not happening to the average person that is trying to lose weight. I just like literally
that we could have seen in our culture, because you do watch people lose an astonishing amount of weight within like 7 weeks or however long the show ran, but they're exercising for 9 hours a day.
Exactly. That show is an extreme version of reality. You don't have to exercise for 9 hours a day. You can just do your 30-minute walk in the morning and be fine. You can go lift your weights for 30 minutes. You know, there's like normal healthy behaviors. I'm gonna like, my eyes are gonna be stuck in the back of my head and I'm going to go blind from rolling my eyes so much.
Yeah.
And I just want to quickly add, and then I will shut the fuck up. One of the many problems with that show, aside from the glorification of weight loss and the hatred of fat people, the disgusting way in which they were spoken to by the trainers, working out for 9 hours a day or whatever the fuck they were doing and eating low calories might work in the short term. But after 2 months, stressing your body like that because it's so unnatural can cause your cortisol levels, which are your stress hormones, to rise, which then means your insulin comes up to match your cortisol levels, and you can develop insulin resistance, you can develop cortisol problems, adrenal fatigue, all of which explain,
you know what could also give you insulin resistance? Being fucking obese.
why most of those people gain the weight back and then some.
Because Biggest Loser doesn't teach people how to have healthy habits. It teaches them how to lose weight in the fastest possible way. You should not be taking advice from Biggest Loser. I think most of you guys have a fucking working frontal lobe, so you should know not to be trying to mimic the things that people on Biggest Loser are doing.
Not because they failed, not because they don't have like willpower, but because it's not only not sustainable, it's literally bad and damaging for your body in the long term. Sorry.
Yeah, I think famously, I can't speak to the cortisol and insulin and all of that, but I can say that there was very famously a long-term follow-up study on people who were on The Biggest Loser, and they found that their metabolisms permanently downshifted by hundreds of calories per day, right? So they were, where previously they might have been burning a higher number of calories per day, now their metabolisms had downshifted by 600 or 800 calories per person.
Guess what, guys? Your metabolism slows down as you lose weight. Because guess what? You don't, like, if you're fucking 300 pounds, it probably takes like at least 3,000 calories just to maintain that weight every single day. So when you lose weight, your body doesn't need as many calories to function. Right now, I'm just under 200 pounds. My maintenance calorie is like 2,100. And it was probably like 2,600 when I was at my heaviest of like 272. And guess what? As I continue to lose weight and get smaller and smaller, my calorie maintenance is also going to get smaller and smaller, like my metabolism, because you don't need 5,000 calories to run a body with a healthy weight. And it's just like fear mongering, like, oh, their metabolism slows down. And that makes people scared. But it's like, yeah, it fucking should slow down because it doesn't need to burn through 5,000 calories for your blood to circulate and to regulate your hormones and to breathe, like, in other bodily functions.
Really sort of staggering numbers, and that damage appeared to be long-term, if not permanent. And that's a result of, a TV show that was demanded and celebrated by a culture that wanted to watch a thin person shout at fat people and tell them they were going to die if they didn't stay on that treadmill. Like it is both modeling a deeply damaging behavior internally, right? And modeling sort of like very near exercise addiction sort of levels, right? And also it was modeling how to treat fat people and what
Shut the fuck up. It was modeling how to treat fat people. Oh, is everyone a personal trainer screaming at contestants I'm Biggest Loser?
While we all learned the internal lesson, we also kind of passively picked up some of the external lessons too, right?
Keep in mind, most people in America are overweight. Those are probably the same people that watched that show. So are the fat people screaming at the other fat people like that? I don't think so. Because they're not in the fucking gym.
And picked up on this idea that really that is how fat people deserve to be treated, is that the loving thing to do for a fat person is to shout at them and tell them they're a failure. And so
It's TV. Are you so fucking dense? Is your skull so thick that you can't think critically? Should I watch, what's a fucking reality TV show I don't even watch? Should I watch Love Island for dating advice? Should I watch Survivor before I go on a camping trip? Should I watch Toddlers and Tiaras for parenting advice? Should I watch 600-Pound Life to learn about nutrition? Should I watch Secret Lives of Mormons to learn about God? Like, please! You guys are killing me here.
So on and so forth. I mean, it's really a brutalizing kind of logic.
Well, it's also like a weird lineage of this narrative that fat people are stupid.
No, that's what you think. Jameela Jamil, that's what you think.
Stupid and lazy, but specifically stupid, so it's like everything.
Specifically stupid. Specifically stupid. I don't think fat people are stupid. I think that they just don't care about what they eat.
Be broken down to them like they are a stupid baby who doesn't understand.
Because if every fat person is stupid, that means that 77% of Americans are stupid. I mean, I know that there is a problem with the education system in place, and it is not funny that some people are illiterate and can't read or aren't receiving the education that they deserve, but it's like, if every fucking fat person in America is stupid, that's a majority of our population. You cannot make huge judgments like that.
Understand how to function in this world.
Yeah, I think the logic is basically like, you must not know, because if you knew, you wouldn't look like that, right? It's sort of...
Most fat people know that they shouldn't be fat. They just don't do anything about it, or they have a problem with food. So, and they don't fix that relationship, so they stay fat or get fatter.
The most sort of bald-faced approach to that, right? Is that I'm looking at you and I can see that you don't know how to be a thin person. You can look at me and see that I am a thin person, so let me teach you how to be more like me. Which, the relationship message of that, I will say...
I don't look at a thin person and expect them to teach me shit. I don't ask my friends that have been thin, or I should say a healthy weight their entire life. I don't ask them for diet advice. I don't ask them what they exercise or how they eat.
Person
They're not my teacher. I can figure it out myself. I'm a grown woman.
It is such a deeply, profoundly, and pervasively dehumanizing thing.
Deeply, profoundly, and pervasively dehumanizing thing. Okay, go off adjectives.
To be looked at by most people as a fixer-upper.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Full picture, yeah.
As
no one thinks about fat people as much as fat people think about themselves. That includes you, Aubrey Gordon. People only look at you and think of you as a fixer-upper because you talk about your ED and fatness in every single one of your posts. You're a fat celebrity.
Yeah, as a project. As like a fun little project for this person to sort of drop in on and give me a bunch of weight loss advice that would almost certainly, you know, at the very least weaken my relationship with them, at the very most trigger an eating disorder or a relapse, right? Like, it is, I think we have some cultural reckoning to do with that as our primary template.
No one is going to Aubrey Gordon and thinking, I can fix her. You're not some fucking crazy man off the street and some toxic lady looking for a boyfriend.
for viewing fat people.
Well, one of the things you do in your book, which I think is fucking vital, is you offer a little bit of advice for people when it comes to you require for everyone to check in with themselves about their own bias, and you offer a little bit of information and I don't know, some helpful tips for people when it comes to how to investigate where that urge comes from. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, each of the chapters in this book, it's called You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People. Each of the chapters are pretty short and pretty direct rebuttals of very common myths about fatness and fat people. And many of them end with either action steps or sort of reflection questions for folks.
No one that's a healthy weight is reading these fucking books. They're all fat people or people with EDs like Jameela Jamil that are reading these books.
To think about where their biases come from. Where did you learn that you shouldn't say the word fat? Do you test that out with people? Do you ask them what they'd like to be called? How often are you calling people fat to their face?
If you're not in the fat acceptance community, no one is gonna fucking do this. Like, if I went up to my mom and was like, is it okay if I call you fat? She'd probably fucking punch me. I'm gonna go up to one of my aunts. Is it okay when we talk, I refer to your body as fat? Or would you prefer a different adjective? Like, you are asking to fight.
That seems like a rare occasion. Maybe knock that off, right? I would say a couple of the biggest things that come up as sort of repeated themes in those action steps and reflection questions are things about looking at your own relationships with fat people in your life and thinking about how often you ask for feedback. Are there ways that you could better show up for that person? Do they have feedback to deliver to you, right?
Why do fat people need to be catered to? What people like Aubrey Gordon just infantilizes fat people so much. We are mostly all grown women here. I have like a 10% male audience. We are all adults. If we don't like something, if something someone says pisses us off or rubbed us the wrong way, we can just go tell them. We don't have to, I don't need to have a therapy session with my friends and ask them if I've hurt their feelings. They should be able to use their big girl words and express that to me.
Another one is there are more sort of academic tools for assessing your own bias. The Harvard Implicit Associations test on body size.
My healthy weight friends are not going to go out of their fucking way and do that. Because they have jobs and families and hobbies. And they also just don't think about fat people 24/7. They actually don't fucking care about fat people in the same way that they don't care about, like, literally anyone else.
Is a decent way. It's a very quick, like, just pull out your laptop or your iPad and take that test. See what you
Let me take a test to see if I hate fat people. Do I gawk and stare when I see a fat person in the store? Yes. Do I moo when I see a fat person and call them a cow? Yes. Do I take melons out of fat people's grocery carts when I see them at the grocery store? Yes. You're fat phobic, 100%. Yay, I got 100% on the I hate fat people test.
think. And that'll give you sort of an indication of when and whether you've got implicit bias leaning one way or another. And I think the last one is that, this shouldn't be the first or only book you read by a fat person about fatness, right?
You should not support anyone just because of who they, like, of what sort of fucking demographics they are. You should not just buy a book because it's from a fat person. You should want to support that person because you actually like that person. Like, we don't need a diversity hire. We don't need a pity support. Support people that you actually fucking like and want to see succeed. You shouldn't support this woman-owned business because it's a woman-owned business when you prefer the alternative. You can just support the people that you want to support. What's up with all the identity politics?
Right? that sort of throughout the book, there are a number of recommendations of other folks' work and opportunities for folks to expand their understanding of fat experiences. Because boy, oh boy, I'm one person, right? And we live in a world that continues to, certainly journalistically, continues to regard thin people as the experts on fat people's experience, right? That when we see news stories about the quote unquote obesity epidemic, the
quote unquote obesity epidemic, because it didn't exist or doesn't exist.
People we see interviewed are thin people and doctors about why this is a problem. We don't actually hear from fat people, right?
My doctor's fat, and she actually tried to give me weight loss advice the last time I saw her, even though I've lost 70 pounds. Fat people give unsolicited, annoying advice too. Why don't you guys ever talk about that?
So it feels really worth in our own media consumption figuring out how to offset that.
I love that. And they interviewed doctors about the obesity epidemic. So do you want news reporters to interview fat people then? Get their opinion on the obesity epidemic? Yeah. Let's see what the scientific research and studies say that the fat people are going to quote.
And seek out more fat voices because those aren't generally being lifted up for us.
You also offer the resource of giving fat people their own literal rebuttals as to, like, not even rebuttals, like the book in and of itself is a rebuttal, but you give them.
You pull out your Aubrey Gordon flashcard. You're at Thanksgiving and someone says, "Are you sure you should be going for seconds?" You say, "Hi. What I eat is none of your business. And I would appreciate it if you no longer talked about what foods I'm eating at Thanksgiving." If your mom says your fupa's hanging out and that you should tuck it in, you should say, "Hi, Mom. I am confident and I love my body the way it is, and my fatness does not change that. So I'm going to let my fupa hang out and breathe freely because it's liberated."
Sentences that they can say that you empower them to use, and you galvanize them to use when confronted with that, which is a fucking hard thing to do, by the way. Like, you've been body shamed, I've been body shamed, both to our faces. It's I don't know about you, but I used to, like, when people would bully me to my face about my weight, I would start shaking. I like, it's hard to stand up for yourself because you don't feel like society's got your back. You don't feel like anyone's going to step in. When I would be called a racial slur, there was weirdly, like, I used to shake less because I knew it's likely that someone's going to step in. But when I had
So she's more insecure about her weight than her race.
to defend my weight, when I had to defend my body, there was a part of me that didn't know if I was allowed. And I think that's where the shaking comes from, the shame and the not being sure, which I think a lot of us face. And what you do in this book is that you tell people that you are sure that it is unacceptable and that you, Aubrey Gordon, have their fucking back.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be bullied about their weight or what they look like, and especially things that are out of their control, like their race or ethnicity, their gender, their sexuality.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me some of those sentences someone should use, because it's the new year. Everyone's fucking thinks it's like it's hyper normalized to talk about everyone else's bodies and our own bodies, and it becomes body obsession month.
Or it's body obsession year for you guys, because you guys fucking obsess over bodies and weight every single goddamn day.
It's a Thinuary, essentially.
Yeah, totally.
Rename it.
Totally.
Can you talk to me about some of those sentences? Just give me some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, so one of the big things that comes up is diet talk, or people recommending diets is sort of a gentle way that people will, that they think of as gentle.
Someone that loves you and is concerned about your weight tells you about a diet or gives you a recommendation. How horrible and toxic that they don't want to see you die before middle age.
And that I do not experience as gentle, to sort of quote unquote help out a fat person, is they'll recommend diets. And there are more and less direct ways to do this. The most direct is my personal favorite, which is, I don't actually want to hear everything you think that I should do to stop looking like me. I don't need that. This is what I look like.
Have you used
This is what I look like, even though at the beginning of the podcast we were talking about how fatness is a choice.
these sentences personally?
Absolutely. For sure.
Amazing.
With people in my family. I've used them a number of times. And with coworkers and so on and so forth, right?
And do they get easier to say?
Absolutely. There's no question. And they get used to hearing them from me and they're like, I know. Right?
I know. You're so full of delusion and grandeur that you just can't listen to anyone's advice or concern about your health.
So it becomes like a way of setting a boundary that we can all reference as, hey, we all know this is a boundary for me. Knock it off. I am also a fan of, listen, if you want to get extremely direct, I have had times in my life where I've said, this is such a hard boundary for me that if you cross it, I'm getting up and leaving. And you
So she has a temper tantrum.
can call me when you're ready to talk, and like move on to the next, right? But I think this stuff is, we think of those as unkind responses without really checking in with ourselves about how profoundly unkind it is to approach someone else and tell them to look different so that we're more comfortable, right? Like,
It's not because other people want to be comfortable. It's because they actually love you more than you love yourself. Somehow there are people in Aubrey Gordon's life that love her and want her to be on this planet, and they want her to lose weight and become healthy. It has nothing to do with feeling distraught in her presence. It comes from a place of love. The same way you would confront someone that you love that struggles with substance use, shopping addiction, gambling addiction, the list goes on and on and on.
Like, that is a wild and deeply self-centered thing to do. And I don't think a direct response is uncalled for in that kind of stuff. I mean, you can also use softer interventions like, you're way more interesting than this conversation, and this conversation about weight loss is really boring. Can we talk about something else?
It's so fucking mean. That is so mean. Imagine someone is like, hey, I'm so concerned about you. I love you, and I want to spend so many more years with you, but you are extremely unhealthy, and I wish that you would lose weight. This conversation is, like, kind of boring. No tea, no shade. Can we, like, talk about something else?
No.
Or like,
this feeling of like, do you think I don't know? Like, this idea of someone feeling like they are exposing you to a truth that you've been burying your head in the sand about.
Because you obviously have.
That too, for sure.
Fucking bizarre. I was watching this documentary about Marilyn Monroe recently, and marveling at how just by casting her in a movie, I think it was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, right? And that was a sort of like part of the beginning of reinforcing the idea that blonde women are not only more fun, but they're also dumber. And she had to play a stupider person than she was because she is blonde. I don't know. There's less ableist ways of saying what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And I'll keep this in so we can all check ourselves. But we have this idea. The terminology they would use is stupid, but like what we'll say is less intellectually gifted or interested. And so they within a matter of like a short number of years were able to create a myth based on people's hair color that has gone on to haunt people for the next 70-something years.
Right, people just like say that as a joke nowadays. People don't genuinely believe that blonde people are fucking stupid.
And the reason I bring that up is that surely via that we can see how quickly and how expertly the media can create a bias that can go on to live relatively unchecked forever. And there's a part of us that kind of goes, well, obviously we don't need to do studies that prove that blonde people are as... But by the way, specifically blonde women. There's no shit about how blonde men are more fun and how blonde men... There is this idea that...
Because blonde men don't exist.
Blonde women are more sexual. They are the sort of floozy, fun gal who you can't hold a proper conversation with, who you kind of have to baby and treat with kid gloves. How can we not look at that how can we look at that and not see how quickly these tropes and myths are created?
Absolutely. And I would say even underneath that one, there's like the underpinning of that feels even more pernicious, which is the message to men is to straight cis men, is if you experience sexual desire for a woman, you don't need to care about what she thinks or what she needs, and she probably doesn't know and couldn't tell you.
What? Actually, what the hell? How did you get that from that? And I'm sorry, my husband actually loves and cares about me and values my opinion. The demonization of cisgender heterosexual males is astonishing. People in the fat acceptance community just continue to create more and more enemies by how they speak about other people.
Totally.
Right? Like it's such a layered garbage message. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, and the beginning of many. I mean, we know about the kind of like bigger tropes, like the ones about black people or brown people or Asians. Like we're just like we're stereotype machines. But the one about blonde hair, the reason that I became so obsessed with that is that is to me as meaningless. I mean, they're all fucking meaningless, but that's so insane that it could be something like someone's hair color that.
I'm just like literally speechless. Talking about blonde stereotypes versus fat stereotypes versus racial stereotypes.
Led to people dyeing their hair color in order to seem a certain way, that shows us that the media just wants to sway us and control us. And I talk about, I mean, like entertainment, the entertainment industry.
If the entertainment industry is so toxic, then why are you in it? Why are you an actress? Why are you a model? Why are you a podcast host? Your whole career is the entertainment industry.
Just wants to sway us, control us, make us judge ourselves, judge each other. And it's creating all of these like arbitrary nonsense rules.
Yeah, just like everyone in the fat acceptance community.
Well, and I would say, like, listen, even for people who are not twirling their mustaches and like tying people to the train tracks, right? Like, not the full-on villains. I also think, like, listen, we're in a place where many media outlets are laying off journalists, right? And are cutting back on fact-checking staff and are cutting back on like really critical elements of being able to do their jobs well. So even passively, like the opportunities for good and solid journalistic work are fewer and further between than they have been in a long time, you know? So.
Well, on top of that, it's also important to remember, and I've said this before in this podcast, but if you look on the side panels of most articles that you read from most newspapers, you will almost definitely see paid advertising that comes from the diet industry, whether it's weight loss.
Your ads are determined by your behavior on the internet. There's this thing called cookies, and depending on what you're searching for and what you're looking at, will determine what ads are put and you are shown. That goes for the YouTube ads that you saw before watching this video. That goes for the ads on Facebook and Instagram. That goes for the ads that are on the side of articles. That is all determined by your behavior.
Injections, pills, detox, diet shakes, all this different shit. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And so I urge you, whenever you are reading anything that seems skewered towards a more like medical, factual background, look at who the fucking sponsors are, because there's
yeah, same for you guys. When you read different research, Aubrey Gordon, figure out if it was sponsored by people.
Absolutely zero way that does not influence heavily what is being said.
Yeah,
it's vital that you do that, because this is the only way that most media outlets are able to make money is via advertising, because very few are on subscription basis. So think about the fact that you are being fed actual propaganda.
Please. Propaganda.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially, allegedly.
And listen.
Like, where is this going?
Even if you stop short of propaganda, I think it's not unthinkable to consider a profit motive, right?
Mhm.
That there is a profit motive.
Whoa, groundbreaking. Businesses want to make money. The same way you, Aubrey Gordon, and Jameela Jamil want to make money.
Right? When we feel dissatisfied with our bodies, when we see how fat people are treated and want to keep, when thin people want to keep themselves sort of quote unquote socially safe from the treatment that fat people experience, all of that
Jameela Jamil right now.
stands to make somebody some money and gain somebody some power. And it's
What about the junk food industry, the hyper-processed food industry? What about the fast food industry? What about the medical industry? What about the pharmaceutical energy that also make money and become powerful because of fat people's consumption habits?
it's worth checking in with ourselves about that in particular. I mean, I think very famously to me, I don't know how famously to anybody else, but the person who owns the parent company for Weight Watchers also owns a number of snack food companies and has said publicly, I've got them coming and going, whether they're trying to lose weight.
That's fucking hilarious, but it's like, okay, because they know most people just go on crash diets. They do Weight Watchers, or they do keto or paleo, instead of creating lifestyle habits that they can maintain for the rest of their lives. And, no shade on keto or paleo. And I know people can do those diets or have those lifestyles for an extended period of time, but a lot of people do those as crash diets. They think of it as a quick fix rather than something that they have to work on the rest of their lives.
Or they're not trying to lose weight, they're buying stuff from me, is a thing that dude is quoted as having said in Forbes. Like, this is not like secret behind closed doors, whatever murky internet rumor stuff. This is just like, on the face of it, here's what's happening,
Yeah, well, again, you and I touched on this maybe a year ago or so, but it also, because 95% of diets fail, I
Incorrect statistic, insert same at every size video.
believe you said to me last time. And that, really, like, think about that statistic for a second. 95%, and they're almost designed to fucking fail. And I'd like to like briefly get into the weight loss injections that have become huge recently, and it's so reckless to see so many women's magazines covering it. And it'll only be a matter of time before they start advertising it openly on their pages. But basically, these weight loss injections work. The ones that you're hearing as the skinny pen or the Hollywood weight loss craze. They work by creating so much nausea, constipation, physical cramp.
Those are all side effects that don't happen to every person.
Sometimes pancreas and liver issues that make you unable to eat.
This is so fucking misleading. I mean, I'm no expert on GLP-1s, don't get me wrong, but it's like those GLP-1s, the semaglutide injections, those mimic the natural GLP-1 hormones in your brain, so people don't feel hungry as often and feel more satiated. And everything that she listed is a side effect. Not everyone receives those same side effects. So misleading.
That you then just sort of stop eating. And so
Yeah. So people are starving themselves, and they're in starvation mode. The body thinks they're in a famine. Shut up.
experience a lot of times very fast weight loss, very
they're experiencing weight loss because they're not fucking eating as much as they used to. Mind blowing.
in a short period of time, because you have stopped eating. You are starving yourself. Now, at some point, almost invariably, people who are not diabetic, this medication, if I hadn't said already, I beg your pardon. This medication is designed for diabetics. Now,
it's the first use of it was made for diabetics, and it's also used for people that need to lose weight. Medications, like some medications out there, can like do more than one thing. Isn't that groundbreaking? Did you guys know that? The same way that aspirin can be used as a blood thinner, but also can be used for headaches.
Some people who take these have no issues with diabetes. They're taking it just for weight loss now because of this new weight loss injection craze. If you do not have diabetes, this medication is especially dangerous for you, and it is unsustainable.
False misinformation.
Once you come off it, because you have brought your metabolism to a standstill, because all it's made you do is starve. It's not a miracle.
That's why if you're on GLP-1s that you need to create healthy lifestyle habits.
Danger. It's just starvation. It's a starvation tool that makes you not know you're starving.
It's not making you starve yourself. It's making you eat less. And guess what? If you're on a medication that makes you eat less and you still haven't changed any of your lifestyle habits, if you still eat like horse shit, if you still go out to eat all the time, if you don't exercise, if you're not drinking enough water, if you get off that medication and you still have these same unhealthy lifestyle habits that you did before and during when you took that medication, then you're going to gain the weight back. The same way that you can gain the weight back if you stop counting calories and stop exercising.
When the weight comes back on and then some, it is almost impossible to get off the next time.
Where's the research that shows that?
Just so you know.
Just so you know, and you've crashed your fucking metabolism. Shut up about your motherfucking metabolism. Your metabolism is fine.
Because you have crashed your fucking metabolism. Mm-hmm. That is very classic in any quick fix method that we've ever seen. We've talked about the Atkins diet, keto, all these things that fucking...
Because people are treating GLP-1s like crash diets when it should be treated as a tool for weight loss. The same way that getting a VSG is a tool, not the solution. Eating less food will always be the fucking solution to losing weight. That is how you lose weight. That is the only way that you can lose weight.
6 months in which it was normalized for grown adult women specifically, and some gay men, to live on water that had lemon, cayenne pepper,
and maple syrup,
and a little bit of maple syrup.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're fucking dumb. Sorry that you believe fad diets and things as you see on Instagram and Pinterest. You should know by now not to just do whatever you see online.
People were walking around, I remember it, people were walking around dizzy and being told that if they felt like shit, it was a good thing because that meant their body was really detoxing. With grown adult people at their jobs living on lemon water.
How many people were doing this? She's acting like everyone was doing this.
With chili pepper in it.
People that were doing this probably struggled with EDs.
Oh, this was a good friend of mine who I worked with did this at one point. Absolutely the kindest person I know in my life, period. Mm-hmm. Jessica, lovely. And
not her name dropping.
And she was on like day 4. We worked together at the time. And one of our other coworkers noticed that she was extremely on edge and was like, hey, it might be time to like have a meal. And she burst into tears and went, you don't care about my health. And I was like, okay, so this is...
So Jessica obviously has some fucking mental health issues. Great. Let's all make fun of her now on this podcast.
It's no longer Jessica. We're in like invasion of the body snatchers mode. You are completely being controlled by something outside of you at this point. And that's what happens when you don't eat food.
Yeah, I mean, everyone got sick. A lot of people got sick, and then other people just gained the weight in about a week and a half afterwards, and then some, and then found it very difficult to lose weight afterwards.
Wow. Mind-boggling. You don't eat for a week, and then you eat again, so you overeat to make up for lost time, and you gain weight. And you gain the weight back, or even more. Groundbreaking.
These are designed to fail. The system isn't broken. We've said this about many different institutions within the United States and the West in general. The system is working exactly as intended. They get as many diet books out there as they can, as quickly as possible, as many influencers try and become the face of that new fad. And then when it fails, no one talks about the fact that it failed. We just move on to the next one. We never investigate, 20 different massive global generational fads failed one after the other after the other.
That's how it's a fad. It's not something classic that lasts decades. You know what will last until the end of time? Eating a whole food diet, having a regular exercise routine, drinking water. That's how you can stay healthy and keep weight off for the rest of your life. There is no miracle product. There is no miracle diet that is going to make you lose weight. It is your lifestyle choices that will make you lose weight.
We never talk about the kidney damage. We never talk about the fact that everyone's metabolism is now crashed. We never talk about the fact
If I hear metabolism one more time, I'm gonna fucking throw my computer out the window.
that the eating disorders are now the highest they've ever been.
Yeah, and guess what eating disorder that is? BED. Everyone's overeating.
We just move on, and we're doing it again with the fucking weight loss injections.
Well, here's what I'll say. So we were talking earlier about like what's the internal lesson and what's the external lesson from The Biggest Loser. I would say there's an internal lesson and an external lesson with semaglutide and these weight loss injections as well. I would say blood sugar management injections for diabetic people is what they are designed to be, right? As you noted.
Yeah, that's what they were intended to be, but they can also be used for another purpose.
And as a result of this fad and this many people getting this attached to these weight loss injections and this sort of frenzied attempt to get them, there is now a shortage for diabetic people who need these drugs to stay alive, to stay in their target blood sugar range and to avoid.
But the people that are abusing GLP-1s and semaglutide, I feel like is probably a super small percentage. And I would argue that people that are obese, that are using these medications to lose weight, still need them. Like they are life-changing medications, obviously, for people that have diabetes, but obesity is still a disease that needs to be treated.
Really intense negative health outcomes. There are a number of our listeners have written into us saying they can't get their medication.
And that sucks, and that should be the problem of the healthcare industry or the pharmaceutical industry. We should not be looking at the fat people using the medication, because they still need the fucking medication too.
Which they need in order to be safe and okay in the world. And I just want to put a really fine point on culturally right now. We are making the decision that it is more important for people who don't have chronic health issues, for people who are not disabled, to look the way that they want to look in a swimsuit than it is for diabetic people to stay alive.
That is grasping at fucking straws. We watched that one video in one of my reactions from Instagram Reels of Caitlyn from 599 to Damn She's Fine. And are you telling me that she's only on semaglutide because she wants to be in a bikini? No, she's on a semaglutide because I forget how much she weighs now. Is it 400 or 300 pounds? And she needs that medication to stop the food noise in her brain because she's addicted to food and cannot control herself around it. It is not just like strictly vanity reasons. Like, people need these medications to also help their lives. And I'm not like dismissing the fact that people with diabetes obviously need this medication as well, but it's like people aren't just taking it because they want to look skinny. Some people are taking it so they can fucking lose weight and be healthy, because obviously Aubrey Gordon doesn't think that weight has anything to do with health, but us people in the real world know that being obese, being super morbidly obese, is unhealthy and can kill you.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels really worth noting that there is a core moral question here as well. Both our own bodily safety, both doing what is, right for you and all of that kind of stuff. And also, it is creating ripple effects for people who don't just want to lose some weight quickly, right? For folks who need this as like a crucial part of their daily or weekly health regimen.
Which can also be obese people. It's not just for diabetics now.
I've spoken about this constantly online. Every time I bring up these fucking injections, I bring up the fact that we'd have not just a shortage in the United States, a global shortage we are now seeing of this medication because people can buy it.
Which was probably done on purpose by these companies. These companies are humongous pharmaceutical companies that can create false sense of urgencies and global shortages so that they can hike up the price and make as much money as possible. Ever thought about that? Instead of just blaming people that need it for weight loss?
Off prescription for $1,000 to $1,500. So then it also creates this weird like wealth gap issue where the wealthy are being able to take this from people who have health issues who can't, even if they were able to access it off prescription. People who are diabetic, who desperately need it to survive, they can't afford to, and the price is being slowly jacked up. We're going to see the after effect of that in the new year, I think, when the price goes up even further for it and people can't afford it on their fucking copay. I heard a story from my DMs, because I have so many diabetics from around the world reaching out to me about the fact that they're terrified because they can no longer get the medication they need. They were saying that this woman said that her husband went to pick up his after months of waiting for it from the pharmacy, and the two girls working at the pharmacy asked him if they could pay him $1,000 for the pens, for the injection.
Okay, first of all, this is probably like 1 in a million situation, and people can lie in the DMs and just make up fucking stories because they want to talk to Jameela Jamil.
Now that is really fucking disturbing and something that we're seeing everywhere. We now have estheticians hiring nurses who are able to give out prescriptions. So loads of nurses are leaving like other jobs to be able to go and get high paid jobs at estheticians.
God forbid a nurse makes a living wage.
Where they can write prescriptions for these fucking things that are designed for people with diabetes. And somewhere I want to kind of circle back here, slightly tangential, but I think you'll be able to follow me here, is that something you and I spoke about privately of our frustrations was that during the pandemic, obesity, quote unquote, obesity was used.
Quote unquote obesity, as if it's like a fucking unicorn. Doesn't exist.
Used as like a huge flare signal in which we were told obese people are responsible for the pandemic being as widespread as it is.
That's misleading. The CDC demanded the lockdowns because obesity was an extreme risk factor, because obesity is disease and it causes people to be immunocompromised. Actually, let's just look it up. Obesity worsens outcomes from the virus. 77% of Americans are overweight, 44% of them being obese. That is almost half of the US population that is obese. That is almost half of the population that can have worse outcomes from the virus. Having obesity increases the risk of severe illness from virus. People who are overweight may also have increased risk. Having obesity may triple the risk of hospitalization due to virus. Obesity is linked to impaired immune function. Obesity decreases lung capacity and reserve and can make ventilation more difficult. More than 900 adults were in the hospital because of the virus. Models estimate that 30% of these hospitalizations were attributed to obesity.
They are the ones dying the most and the fastest. They are spreading it essentially because they are susceptible to actually getting the virus. And it was deemed completely acceptable to go fucking ham in the worst way I've seen since the 90s on fat people because it was considered.
I feel like I didn't hear anyone talk about obesity and the virus until I started watching Alan Rogers or Roberts. I always forget which his last name is.
Like, you are endangering your society by being fat. So it's interesting to me.
Which I feel like a lot of like Eastern countries say. People always bitch about the beauty standards and how fat people are treated in America. When you go to fucking Asia, you go to Japan and China, where the obesity rates are minuscule, they have a lot stronger opinions. And they actually view obesity as a burden on society.
And like I said, this is just from the tip of this has just come to me right now, but it's interesting that moral argument existed, that don't endanger others. And yet that's absolutely fine when it comes to weight loss. We can endanger people's lives. They can die from a lack of diabetes medication because of our pursuit to be thin. And there's
what about the pursuit of health?
No fucking eyebrows raised about that. And yet being fat was deemed specifically in the...
Why don't you blame the pharmaceutical companies that make this shit? Because they have humongous factories that can work 24/7, 365 days out of the year to create these medications. I guarantee you that this was an orchestrated shortage so people can just make as much money as possible.
The last 2 years as no longer just a danger to yourself, no longer just promoting obesity, which we'll get into. You are literally endangering the well-being, health, and life of your fellow citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had people like Boris Johnson sort of boosting that message and making it an official sort of state endeavor, that one of the sort of primary strategies in the UK for COVID was, a push for fat people to lose weight. Now, interestingly, putting on a mask takes about 10 seconds, and then you're like,
you can still get the virus while wearing a mask.
Pretty well protected in many cases from COVID transmission. For fat people to become thin,
you can just become a healthy weight. You don't have to become thin.
Even if you accept a standard, like, the highest level of safe weight loss is 1.5 pounds a week for however long, right? For me to become a thin person on that timeline would take years.
Because she's humongous. But also, when you're so big, you could drop, when you're Aubrey Gordon size, you could probably drop 5 pounds a week for, the first year that she's on a diet.
By the time that happens, COVID will be a completely different sort of beast, right? In our public imagination.
God forbid you even try then, because it's going to take Aubrey Gordon fucking 55 years to lose weight.
It is utterly absurd to be like, we have a pandemic happening right now. Quick, everybody, do something that might make a difference in 5 to 10 years.
Aubrey Gordon saying that she could lose, the healthy way to lose weight is 1.5 pounds per week, and then saying it would take her 5 to 10 years. I'm like, do we need to do a little calculation to see how big Aubrey Gordon is?
And has never been shown to actually function as a population level intervention, right? There is no jurisdiction, there is no municipality, there is no country in the world that has reversed its rates of fat people. There are no fewer.
Not yet. I think the obesity rate dipped a little bit last year in America, just slightly.
Fat people in any country in the world right now than there ever have been.
Yeah, because no one is as fat as fuck as America. Maybe the UK and some other and maybe some other countries here on the Western plane, but Japan's. Well, let's see. So the obesity rate for men in Japan is 4.7. For women, it's 4.4. For little boys, it's 3.8. For little girls, it's 2.3. Compared to the United States, well, I guess the 44% is for adults in the United States, but yeah, the other countries don't need to worry about obesity as much as America because it's not almost half the population.
Right? No one has turned that around, and that also feels worth lifting up here.
Because they don't need to. Most countries don't have as high as an obesity rate as America.
As a public health intervention, it makes zero sense to propose that this time we're really going to do the thing that we've never done.
And it's not going to get reversed in America until we do something about our government and the lobbying and how much say these industries have in our government. Until we take the pharmaceutical, the medical, the food industry out of politics, then nothing is probably going to change.
Which is make everybody in the population lose weight. We just don't know how to do that.
We just don't know how to do that. Aubrey Gordon loves to say that. And, we just don't know how to, make fat people thin permanently. We just, don't know how to do that. Yeah, it's like how they fucking don't know how to go to the moon anymore. What do you mean you don't know how to fucking go to the moon anymore?
It's very absurd, and it really felt like the amount of anti-fatness that was sort of reactivated and
look at Jameela Jamil serving face the whole time.
kicked up during the pandemic.
Okay, girl, go off.
Really led back to a bunch of very old, weird, dusty kind of ideas about fatness and fat people.
I feel like fat acceptance exploded during the lockdown, so I don't know what she's talking about.
Right.
And so many people gained weight during the lockdown too.
The amount of hand-wringing about the perceived irresponsibility of parents who, quote unquote, let their children get fat.
Yeah. parents should be held accountable for letting their kids become obese, because kids don't really get to pick what food they eat. They just eat what's in front of them.
Was a big part of that, at least as far as I saw, right? In terms of COVID coverage, there were just all of these like really regressive, weird ideas that are directly counter to what we know scientifically and
False. Incorrect.
directly counter to most of our stated values, right? Like,
Those are your values. I have different values than you, Aubrey Gordon.
it is a deeply weird thing to look at a fat kid and then point to their parent and go, they're your fault, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, who else is taking care of the child?
what a weird response to an adorable child looking at you, right?
No one is doing that in public. Fat kid, fat parent. You should be ashamed of yourself. Like, like everyone in America's fat. No one is saying this to another fat person with the fat kid who also has a fat kid.
It is remarkable to me how quickly folks just latched right back on to some of the stuff that folks were maybe starting in little ways to let go of. It really
Well, that's just it. That I don't know if they were letting go. I think they were being
Mm.
forced to let go because of the rise of people like Lizzo.
I love that. Yeah, they were forced to let go.
And because of the, you know, like the curve coming back, and also like the rise of more ethnic minorities in media, a lot of whom happen to be more curvaceous and certain allowed areas, always with a small waist for some reason. But I'm not sure that people actually were.
Because who wants someone with a thick waist? Everyone wants a fucking, are you an ass or tits kind of guy? No one is being like, so you like a big waist or big calves? Yeah. I'm the Rizzler.
Genuinely changing their minds. I mean, hopefully they were. I would like to hope they were. But I feel like a lot of people just felt like, similarly with race and with
comparing race and fatness. Let's see where we're going to go.
Gender, they just weren't allowed to because it was being so societally accepted. And people in positions of power were no longer using this garbage rhetoric. Yeah. So it's almost like when Trump came into power and suddenly.
Okay, let's blame a conservative president on people becoming fat phobic. Everyone, there's so many fucking people on Instagram in the comment section being like, it's not a coincidence that since there's more conservative values that people are becoming more fat phobic. So what? Is everyone that's leftist or people that voted Democrat, are they all just like fat?
Suddenly everyone was like ripped off the mask. It was like, ha, we've been racist all along. It feels as though this has just unearthed the fact that fat phobia never really went away. It was just being tolerated because it like that it came back.
Yeah, because there was a performative small period of time where body positivity and companies realized that it wasn't making them money, so then they stopped. And that's the same reason that Old Navy stopped carrying a size 40 in jeans in their store and dwindled back down to a size 20 because there was not a demand for all these sizes.
Yeah, and I would say, I don't think there's any confusion amongst fat people that anti-fatness never went away, right? Yes. I would say it's similar to, there are a lot of headlines right now about like, oh no, we're going back to thin is in, and that's going to be terrible, which I think for folks who are within...
Thin was always in. It has always been in to be a healthy size. Even when the body positivity movement was going on, even when there was a rise in plus size models, it's Ashley Graham who is a socially acceptable healthy size. Tess Holliday was the only fucking morbidly obese plus size model.
Reach of being considered thin people, that would be a really heartbreaking and hard thing. For someone my size, thin has never not been in. Right? Like, there has never been a point where people are like, yes, look at this amazing size 26 person, right? Like, that is...
Yeah, that's how people are on fucking TikTok.
It's an extremely rare thing for us culturally. But like...
Because body positivity was a fad. Probably also manufactured.
Like, yeah, it's a fascinating thing that like, I don't think it's that people thought anti-fatness was no longer socially acceptable. I think it still is extraordinarily socially acceptable because it is accepted. But for the first time, people would have to answer.
Being thin, being underweight isn't socially acceptable by society. If someone sees someone underweight, they're going to look and stare and be concerned, just how they would if they saw someone that's fucking 600 pounds on a motor scooter in Walmart.
Answer to it to anyone. Someone might leave a comment and go, hey, maybe think about this, or hey, this doesn't feel good to read, or whatever. I mean, I think that's sort of
the same way people probably leave troll concerning comments on Aubrey Gordon's post, and probably similar comments on Eugenia Cooney's post.
Where we're at is that someone will say something to you if you say something anti-fat, potentially, depending on where you are, depending on the context, right?
Well, as you bring up in your book, like, I think this is myth number 10, like, we now feel as though if we don't interrupt fatness when we see it, for example, someone just living in their body in a nice outfit online, we consider that to be that we are allowing the glorification of fatness. Yeah. Can you unpack that for me?
I think that people that are only glorifying obesity are people like Aubrey Gordon, or like shit that I used to post in the past, like talking about how it's fine to be fat and how it's healthy to be fat. You know, I don't think that people just like simply existing and posting like their plus size outfit of the day are promoting obesity, in my opinion.
This, like, where this myth has come from, because I've really rarely seen this in any other context.
Because being fat is a choice. The same way that we would probably leave similar comments under someone that's underweight or someone that has a shopping addiction.
That person existing online is considered to be glorifying or promoting fatness.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. So I will say this usually shows up as a response to a photograph of a fat person on a beach or eating a meal or with their friends, not actively working out, not talking about their weight loss goals in the caption, not any of that sort of stuff that might indicate that they are on a path toward thinness or that they know that their body is going to be perceived as socially incorrect somehow. You will get these waves of comments from people saying, of course we shouldn't treat fat people badly, but we also can't glorify obesity or promote obesity, which is a bizarre response to a picture of somebody having a nice day at the beach, right? Like, at that point, those commenters are now assigning a social agenda and a political agenda that does not necessarily exist in that fat person's post. And
I think that if we're just talking about like strictly a bikini photo, either that picture has to go viral, which people leave like troll concerning comments, or maybe if they write something in the caption about loving themselves or talking about like how being fat is healthy.
I think my thinking on this is, I think one of the number one questions about glorifying obesity is like, how do you respond when someone says you're glorifying obesity? And my response to that is, I don't.
Yeah, because I think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you say no, I'm not, I'm just existing, people are gonna be like, you're dumb. And then if you say yeah, I'm glorifying obesity, it's like a sarcastic tone, but then also acknowledging that you're spreading unhealthy behaviors.
That is someone who is telling me they are not interested in seeing my humanity. That is someone who is more panicked.
They're not interested in seeing my humanity. Please.
About having to look at a fat person than they are interested in understanding our experiences or showing up for us in any real way. I'm like so deeply here for good faith conversations, and the trolls who drop in with "you're glorifying obesity" are not people who are interested in a good faith conversation, generally speaking.
And people still say that to people like Eugenia Cooney or people that have other bad habits online. Like Kiki Chanel did a video about this one lady who's claims that she's a recovering shopping addict, but then like goes and spends fucking thousands and thousands of dollars at a time. And that woman indeed is glamorizing a shopping addiction. The same way that people in the fat acceptance community talk about how it's okay to be fat and how it's healthy to be fat and how genetics determines weight, and they're completely helpless around how much they weigh. And then they go and eat whatever monstrosities they do on their channel or in their videos.
Speaking, it is an extraordinarily strange social impulse to see a photo of someone having a good day and say,
there's no like link
there's
in
an
my
agenda.
bio. There's no link in my
There is an agenda.
bio for 30% off at McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? Like there's literally no endorsement of anything.
Yeah, but what about Aubrey Gordon? She had that documentary. She probably makes ads on her blog. She also writes books. Like, Aubrey Gordon is making money off of obesity.
Just wearing a nice skirt. They're daring to wear a skirt. They're enjoying their lives. They look happy. They might be in love. They might be in love, God forbid, with a fat person, or even more, God forbid, with a thin person.
Remarkable.
It's bonkers. And I think, we've spoken about this before, like it comes from a fear-based place, right? We look at fat and we think about the way that fat people are ostracized, and we think that we could catch it. I think we spoke about this the first time we ever hung out.
Fatness is not a contractable disease. It's not an STD.
Like
absolutely.
Contagion fear of fatness, of like, God, if you make me think that fatness is okay, then I might become fat because you've been promoting it to me. And then if I become fat, then I'm going to be ostracized too.
No one spirals like this. People just don't want to be fat because it's unhealthy. What about that? They're never going to talk about any sort of logical argument.
Yeah.
And you really need to like identify that knee-jerk reaction when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you see a picture of a fat person.
What? The hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you see a picture of a fat person because you're so scared? Can't relate.
Really, maybe write down the thoughts you're immediately having. I know that sounds like a lot to ask, but if it's something that keeps you up at night or makes you feel the need to comment to a stranger about their personal life, or even someone that you know and love and are related to, I really like what I love about your book is that you really force people to ask themselves why. And I think like in the sort of
Aubrey Gordon even looks sick of this. She's like, I'm tired.
In the art of conversational combat, that's one of the most powerful tools you can ever do, where you don't put it up on
her grunting every fucking 3 seconds.
yourself to explain them to you. You ask someone to investigate themselves, and almost always in doing so, they are then forced to unpack something, empathize, and they're not defensive because they're busy investigating themselves. And it's a really powerful tool that this book gifts so many people with.
Oh, that's so kind of you to say so. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that whole art of checking ourselves and checking in with ourselves, particularly around body image, particularly around our own anti-fat attitudes or the ways that we think it's quote unquote helpful to treat fat people, almost always lead back to, as you identified, sort of a social fear, right? A fear of being treated and perceived the way that fat people are treated and perceived. And in all of those cases, the answer to alleviate that anxiety isn't get thin, stay as thin as possible all the time. None of us are in full control of that at any point.
But at the beginning of the video, you were talking about how it's a choice to be fat.
Right? Most of us aren't in control of it much at all.
Yeah, because you guys all have EDs that you refuse to seek treatment for. So you continue to gain weight.
Nor is the answer to create as much distance in between how people perceive fat people and how people perceive you, right? That's also not an answer, to sort of separate yourself out from fat people.
Even though people in the fat acceptance community have a us versus them mentality.
The answer is to make the world a safer and more dignified and more welcoming place for fat people, right?
America was built for fat people. That's why there's so many goddamn fat people here. What are you talking about? Oh, just because a fucking theater seat can't fit someone that's a 6X? Sorry, it fits the average person.
Right? Yeah. That if we're able to do that, then a lot of those social fears become less and less attractive to us. They pull on us less and less.
So it's the world's responsibility to help fat people be less anxious. Why do we have to coddle fat people?
If we see more fat people being treated better and being accepted and loved and celebrated and lifted up, right, in our communities.
Well, that'd be really hard. You'd have to have a lot of strong people in your community.
That changes the dynamics of what we're afraid of, right? It's
If then they'll just find something else to be afraid of or pissed off about. There's never any winning. The goalpost is constantly moving.
a different thing to be afraid of, being a fat person, say, before the burst of Lizzo onto the scene than after, right? Like, that is a marked difference in how people perceive fat people on some level. Imperfect, incomplete, should not be all on her shoulders, but we're seeing like big shifts in
No pun intended.
how people sort of think about and respond to fatness and fat bodies. And that's a result of seeing fat people celebrated, right?
Yeah.
The irony of them keep mentioning Lizzo. I feel like that doesn't make sense. The irony of them continuously mentioning Lizzo as like a body positivity icon, and now she's losing weight because she's actually come to her wits and realized that being obese is unhealthy.
It also is worth stressing, even though it's so obvious, especially to a wonderful advanced audience like this one. But
wonderful advanced audience like this one. How are these people a little more advanced? Please let me know.
Shame never works for anything. Shame might create a result very quickly and very briefly, as in it will not last. But shame doesn't work. Shame creates only unhealthy emotional and physical health in those whom we shame. And I know...
yeah, shame is not helpful, but I think what people can perceive as shameful or like what makes them feel shame is different from person to person, because, someone could reach out to an obese person and be like, hey, like, I'm really concerned about your health. Like, I really love you and I want you to like live a longer life. And I know that you've already been struggling with X, Y, and Z. Someone can still feel shame from someone reaching out to them. Like, if that makes any sense, like, shame isn't always like, haha, you're fat loser, you should lose weight, you suck. Like, what others interpret as shameful can probably be different from person to person. So it's like, what do you say if you genuinely are concerned about someone?
I know this as someone who was shamed into losing weight, who was shamed into staying thin, who was shamed when I gained weight. It has never had the desired long-term impact that anyone wanted it to have on me.
Well, and it corrodes our
anyone.
relationships, right?
Yes.
Like, it messes
and it corrodes our relationship with ourselves, by the way. Like, that shame that you externalize onto someone else, that you project on someone else, is all...
Come on, let Aubrey Gordon talk. You're being fat phobic. I want to hear Aubrey Gordon talk. You're kind of a shitty host. Oh my god. Alright, we're in the final stretch. Less than 10 minutes left.
all seeping in to you. It's all going in. You're drinking the poison yourself. Sorry,
absolutely. Well, and spreading...
Sorry. I know I've talked the whole time. Your turn. I won't deny it. Jameela Jamil is fucking beautiful. Look at her.
It to other people, right? There is this concept that social psychologists will talk about called normative discontent, which is, I think the classic example is when people bond over disliking parts of their...
Normative discontent. Like, alright, so I guess that's a thing. She's not misusing that. But can't women talk about things that they don't like about themselves?
Which is, I think the classic example is when people bond over disliking parts of their bodies, or say that they're quote unquote venting about their body image. And what research has shown about that is that when we think we're venting about our own body image, what we're doing is reinforcing that narrative to ourselves, that our bodies are worthless, that they're undesirable, that they're whatever. And that has an effect on the people that we're talking to and anyone in earshot, right? So when we're venting about this stuff, that is both reinforcing our own negative body image. We think of it as blowing off steam. It's actually reinforcing that narrative, and it's instructing other people around you how you expect them to feel about their bodies too. Even
that... I feel like this is something that happens between people that have issues. And just because someone says they don't like something about themselves doesn't mean that I think I hate that about them too, or like myself. Like, one of my friends, Sydney, has lost a bunch of weight too, and she talks about how she doesn't like her arms. So I don't think that she hates my fat arms. You know what I mean? Like, we just pick apart ourselves.
And if that's not what we intend, that's the message that is received by that behavior. So it just seems worth like unpacking that both it is
Or like my mom was trying to grow out her hair. She's had like a pixie since like adulthood. And she got to like a little bob and she's like, I can't fucking take this, and she went and chopped all of her hair off. I don't think that she hates long hair on me because she cut her hair.
something that we internalize, and it's something that when we internalize it and then have to deal with it, we also are creating a new social reality for the folks around us too. It creates its own sort of gravitational pull.
100%. It just kind of creates this negativity loop that only.
If what people say affects you so much, please seek therapy. If someone says that they don't like something about themselves, so then you internalize that, you have some sort of disorder or unhealthy behaviors.
These benefits the people who make money off of our discontent with ourselves and sometimes each other. So what would you say is the thing that you most hope to achieve from this book?
I think we're in a place now where thanks to shows like this one, thanks to sort of a growing social sort of and political literacy around anti-fatness.
Social and political literacy around anti-fatness.
More and more people are identifying anti-fat bias out in the wild more and more frequently, and it's kind of blowing their minds.
I feel like I hear them say so many things like so often that I'm just like, what does it even fucking mean anymore? Like, what is an anti-fat bias?
Right? They're having the like galaxy brain response to the amount of anti-fatness in the world. And what happens at that point in someone's political education, it happens to me on every issue when I get there, is that it feels like this thing is so pervasive, I can't imagine where to start. And anything I come up with feels incomplete and imperfect.
This is what Aubrey Gordon's thinking about when she stays up at night. Not world hunger, not women's rights. Where did diet culture stem from?
My hope is that folks who are in that state or who are invested in this conversation and not sure where to start, pick up this book, get their own grounding for themselves in facts and science and history and all of that sort of stuff.
Facts and history and science that were all manipulated to fit Aubrey Gordon's narrative.
So that they can then go out and do what they know how to do, which is tell their cousin who won't shut up about CrossFit that they don't want to hear it right now. Or talk to their parents about, ditching some outdated language or ideas about fat people and what they should or shouldn't be wearing, right?
If you have conversations like this with people, they're going to stop hanging around you because they're going to be like, all right, great. I have to walk around on eggshells around this person. I have to cater my language and figure out what I can and cannot talk about with this person. People aren't going to want to hang out with you if you can't be their authentic self.
Or talk to the healthcare providers in your life about their biases and treatment of fat patients, right?
Oh, like when they tell their obese patients to lose weight because obesity is a disease and an extreme risk factor to other disorders and diseases.
These are all things that many of us know how to do. We know how to kind of get our friends and family in line. We know how to speak up when things aren't right. But on this particular issue, if folks don't feel like they've got their
I'm going to screenshot her face right now.
grounding in a narrative that makes sense to them, in some facts that feel solid to them, that'll be a barrier to taking action. So my hope is to remove that barrier.
Yeah, it feels like this is.
Hold on, I need a thumbnail.
That makes sense to them, in some facts that feel solid to them, that'll be a barrier to taking action. So my hope is to remove that barrier.
Yeah.
You think this is a good pick? We might have to try and get another one.
It feels like this is the much needed antidote to the age of misinformation.
Even though you've spread it the entire time?
We have it coming out in many other areas and it continuously gets overlooked. And, as we mentioned earlier, the pandemic brought back up so many old, inaccurate, debunked myths around fat people and fatness that desperately needed some proper fact checking. And I thank you for all.
Why do you need proper fact checking on if obesity is bad or not?
Always doing due diligence in your precision around these subjects, and how, like, even though you have an emotional footing.
She's kissing her ass so hard right now. And like the way that you speak and how your hair smells, and I just can't stop thinking about you.
Yes, I mean, right now we're talking and you're in a closet in your mother's home, and behind you is a 1980s weighing scale that is your childhood weighing scale, but it's still there. Why?
Because she's obsessed with weight and diet culture.
It's my mom's house and she still has it. I don't know, it's moved with her across state lines a couple of times. And for the listener, I will say, it's not a...
Like, why does she have to film in the fucking closet? I mean, she has a mic. She can film in a bedroom or something.
Flat digital scale. It's the old-timey doctor's office one.
That you have to keep tapping back and forth until it is like a spirit level, right? Until it's completely straight.
So I'll say this, anytime I come down here every December and spend a little time with family. And when I do, I record in this closet because it's the most sort of soundproof room in the space. And every time, this is the one place where you can set a chair and a laptop. So every time this scale is in the background. This time when I came down to visit, I told my mom that it had been like a kind of hilarious icebreaker in interviews to have this scale in the background. And she felt badly about it, so she hung a picture on the scale when I first got here. But it was like a little tiny picture, so you could see that it was a picture hanging on like it didn't cover it up. She was like, I just thought I'd decorate it. I thought it was really funny and really charming.
Yeah, because Aubrey Gordon probably fucking screamed at her.
Oh, that's so funny. If you ever end up burning that scale, please send us a video. But what I would say is that you are someone who, as a child, were put on diets, encouraged to...
Me too.
Diet, that happened throughout a large portion of your life. You have faced fat phobia, you faced discrimination. For years, you didn't feel safe to even put your face and real name out there online because of the danger that you were in. This is something that has very much so personally affected you, and yet in all of your work, staggeringly to me, you managed to be personal, but also not personal in your arguments. This is
personal, but not personal in your arguments. Obviously, Aubrey Gordon has some sort of bias.
This is like a factual precision strike that we desperately need, where it becomes incredibly obvious to someone like me that your activism, 𝓌𝒾𝓃𝓚𝑔 says, it should always be trauma informed but never trauma led, and I really feel that.
Fat acceptance is trauma led. They're all trauma bonded over being obese and having EDs.
About your work, and so everyone should go out and buy You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People. It is whether you are fat, whether you are not, whether you know fat people or don't, which would be really fucking weird.
Yeah, because 77% of the US population is overweight.
I hope you will go out and buy this book, because it's like armor.
This book is like armor. Oh, grab your Aubrey Gordon flashcard. Oh, it's on the ground. Like SpongeBob when he does the what I learned in boating school is, and then like it's just all he wrote is like the, and it took him like fucking 15 hours. That's me reading the Aubrey Gordon lose weight and 19 other fat phobic tropes or whatever.
It's incredible. I feel like one of the fucking Avengers now. Like I have a shield of information around.
What? Literally what? What are you talking about, girl? Look at Aubrey Gordon. Should I screenshot this one too? Aubrey Gordon probably thinks that the Avengers are fat phobic because there's no fat person on their team.
Around me. And so buy the book, write in, follow Aubrey. She's the fucking best. So many of us follow her to know what the right thing in the world is, which is so much stress for you to hear. But come on to my...
We follow Aubrey Gordon so we don't have to think for ourselves. Great admission of guilt there, Jameela.
My podcast 1,000 other times. I could talk to you all day.
Likewise, it's a treat every time. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy that you're my friend.
Oh my god. Holy hell. God bless the fact that that is over. Y'all, if you made it this far, what kind of emoji should we use? Use the clock emoji in the comments if you got this far, because holy hell did we just spend a lot of time together listening to the most chaotic misinformation and just pure speculation and emotion from both of them. And I know you guys heard my thoughts and opinions throughout this whole listening session, so make sure you leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. I would love to kiki with y'all and read what you have to say. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like this video. If you enjoy me, consider subscribing. I would love to have you back here again. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Peace.